First tonight, economists are now forecasting at least 2 interest rate hikes next year. It's a warning that's sending shockwaves through households already grappling with relentless cost of living pressures. This after inflation rose again yesterday for the 4th consecutive month, and it's now sitting well above the RBA's target band. Now, it's clear the inflation problem is not easing. It's getting worse. And economists from across the spectrum are sounding the alarm. They say this makes rate rises difficult to avoid in the new year.
If the RBA was serious about knocking inflation on the head, they'd just raise rates at the next meeting and probably do 40.
The market pricing as of this afternoon was that there is going to be a rate hike rather than a rate cut as the next move. And of course, that's bad news for people with home loans.
This is despite the Albanese government earlier this year claiming that Australia was successfully bringing down inflation. You might remember before the election, Treasurer Jim Chalmers said inflation was coming down faster than expected.
Inflation is coming down faster as well. Treasury now expects inflation to be sustainably back in the band 6 months earlier than anticipated. Because of our collective efforts, the worst is behind us and the economy is now heading in the right direction.
And also before the May election, the Prime Minister said Australia had turned a corner on inflation.
We have turned the corner there with inflation down to within the Reserve Bank band. We have had 2 interest rate decreases.
Yet now, here we are, with inflation so persistent, we're looking at rate rises. Albanese was basically popping the champagne corks, celebrating the end of the inflation battle and taking it as a sign to spend taxpayer dollars. One unnecessary example, the move, only designed to buy votes, to pay off student HECS debt. Now, there's been no holding back. The Albanese government was ready to blow $2 billion on a climate summit in Adelaide. There has been no restraint. And Albanese is still putting pressure on Chalmers to fund universal free childcare. This is a personal legacy project, something he wants for his own ego. He wanted The Voice to be his legacy, but voters rejected that. Now he wants to become the childcare Prime Minister. Alexander Downer spoke about this obsession with spending on Chris Kenny earlier.
There is an obsession with expanding entitlements, payments to people, expanding eligibility without taking into consideration the cost of doing these things. I mean, it's all very well if the economy is growing robustly, if business is investing heavily and making substantial profits from their investments, driving economic growth. But growth has almost ground completely to a halt.
There's no question this government is running a big spending agenda. Economists warn it's exactly the kind of irresponsible, vote-winning spending that's fueling inflation. It's now leading to calls for the Albanese government to make serious spending cuts to stop this resurgent inflation. Journalist Jeff Chambers in The Australian reports that bureaucracies have ballooned and spending growth has surged to record levels that economists warn will keep inflation stubbornly high and stymie rate cuts. The International Monetary Fund and the OECD are both also warning governments need to show fiscal discipline. But with the management of the energy system, electricity bills are going to continue to rise for the foreseeable future. It's a topic ABC host Sarah Ferguson pressed Chris Bowen on last night.
High electricity prices and the impact that those prices are having on inflation is really the Achilles heel of this government. When can you promise relief for households and businesses? Let me just come back to that bill question, because if we're in a situation in the new year when those the prices of people's power bills are not coming down, there's going to be a clamouring call for more power for more bill relief? Are you ruling it out? Are we in a position now where the success, really, of the Albanese government is dependent on you bringing down those energy bills? Not to put too fine a point on it, but that's the question.
And in the final parliamentary sitting day for the year, opposition leader Susan Lee seized on this narrative in question time today.
In his self-described year of delivery, and after 3.5 years of Labor, the Prime Minister has delivered the largest decline in living standards in the developed world, lower productivity, more debt, higher inflation, and now, as many economists warn, the real prospect of higher interest rates. Prime Minister, on this final sitting day of 2025, will the Prime Minister finally take responsibility for all these failures?
So this is Australia's economic reality we now face. Sticky inflation, interest rate rises, a housing supply crisis, electricity prices soaring 37% in a year, and mounting cost of living pressures. Against this backdrop, instead of cutting spending to reduce inflation, Albanese is focused on cementing his own legacy. He's prioritising his own place in the history books instead of cutting spending, getting down inflation and making life easier for families. Families are already under great financial strain, and that's before rates rise again next year. This is a terrifying prospect, and the economic conditions that we're now seeing could force the country to tip into a recession.